Welcome back to the second session of the Community Grants Panel. The panel will now prepare our recommendations to be sent to the Cabinet Member for Communities. I'm just going to hand over to Cheryl, who's just going to take us through a couple of points before we start.
Some of you have heard this morning that some of the organisations have only scored 1 for their finance score, so I thought it might be helpful to sort of explain the reason why they only score 1. It's quite hard for them to score more than 1 if they have secured less than 50% of the funds and haven't applied for all the funds that they need. That tends to be what makes us only score them as 1, even if they've got a funding plan in place. But that might help to explain the reasoning behind that.
Sorry, can I ask a question on that, Cheryl? You say it's a combination of not having already secured 50%, not 50%, but also not having
applied for the
funds. But if they've not secured it, but they have identified other sources of funding and have made other applications, they would get more than the 1.
If they've applied for other funds, they've applied for all the funds that they need, and they will score more than
that gets higher.
Yeah. Right. The other thing that we just wanted to point out was with the theme criteria score for the council plan, and because some of them have scored low, that's largely due to the fact that perhaps they haven't identified any measurable outcomes. So that often then results in them scoring lower, or it could be to do with their partnership working as well. Perhaps there isn't much partnership working involved in it.
And can I just ask on that, when it talks about corporate plan, it's our corporate plan?
Yes.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. Lovely.
Okay, so we're going to go through each of the applications in turn. So we'll start with the Berrin Centre. So if we go start to go down the scores, so community needs, inclusion and consultation, that had a score of 4 out of 6. Do we agree with that score?
I wondered whether the officers had took into account what you said about the toilet and the cupboard and what have you, as to whether that made a difference on that one.
There's anything that makes a difference to the score. I think it was more just I actually removed the facility from it. We just wanted some clarification in the application. It just described that they were actually changing it. So that was it was just clarification, understanding why they were doing that.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, 4 out of 6 is quite a good score, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, I think that seems.
Okay, so we're happy with that. Okay, great. Community benefits, 6 out of 6. Couldn't have done much better. I assume that people don't want to mark that down. Action on climate emergency, 5 out of 6. Everyone happy with that?
Yeah.
Financial sustainability was 1 out of 6.
So that one for me was a possibility of increasing. It's based on the historic success of fundraising, based on what they have completed. They were here last year and they've done what they said they were going to do. They have a thriving community of support. So and based on what she told us, it sounds like they've got much more funding than we can.
No, I mean, I think the thing is, I mean, this one is already scoring in the top tier, so I don't think there was anything that would. The question is, do we think that's still a valid overall score? Yeah, I mean, going each one by one. Take forever. Going to take forever.
Okay. I think that's what we have to do though, in terms of ensuring that we can go through them quicker though. But yes, it won't make any difference to their standing. 3 themed criteria for chosen corporate plan priority.
That's a pretty good score again. 4.
Yeah. And then additional corporate plan themes, obviously that's 2 out of 2 as well. So they scored 22 out of 32. So we're happy to kind of keep that score. Okay, so we
The
go,
only problem I have that when you look at a bank account of like £463,000. You know, I do wonder why some of these applicants can't put more money.
But that was allocated. They've already allocated that. to the
I thought that was prior to this cafe being.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Take
Got a
that,
lot
so
going
that
out.
would take half of it, wouldn't it?
yeah.
More, I think the cafe project was 450 or something like that.
Right, yeah.
So a lot of these figures we're given are historic, aren't they?
Yeah, well, the
They're as of July, aren't
application
they? So things
was
have
in
moved on.
July, yeah. Okay, well, let's go on to Wheatley Parish Council now. So starting with community need, inclusion and consultation, that's still 4 out of 6. Everyone happy with that?
Yep.
Community benefits 6 out of 6.
Yep.
Action on climate emergency 3 out of 6.
I mean, it's same, I have the same argument, it's not gonna affect their score.
No.
I thought they conveyed more than this, but that's fine.
Yeah. Okay, financial stability 3 out of 6.
Yeah, and these
That's
guys
okay, but
haven't
you
got an obvious
Yeah.
area of weakness. This is the one thing I thought about this one, was that you looked at them all and there isn't a 1 out of 6, there isn't even a 2 out of 6. Their worst score is 3 out of 6, so they're pretty consistent across the board, aren't they?
And then
Yeah.
this was the one where there was clear, strong support and, numbers, money behind it from the parish council.
Yeah.
Can I just add that based on the information they provided, and we looked at their finance score and the additional information actually based on the scoring matrix, would increase it to a 6. So I just wanted to point that out.
So
And
even
What's the
stronger.
finance?
Yeah.
for the finance.
So we can-
Yeah, I mean, I had a question.
Yeah, just for the
last on
record,
that
we
one.
could change that to 6
Yeah.
out of 6 then, even though, yeah, it doesn't necessarily impact.
But nice for them to have that feedback.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, wouldn't it?
Missed one. Ah, there we go. Holston Village Hall.
Oh, we still need to just do the themed points and the
Oh.
additional points for Wheatley.
Oh, sorry, themed criteria for chosen corporate plan priority 4 out of 6. Is everyone happy with that?
I would have given them an extra one, given everything they told us, but again, it's not gonna make any difference. But they listed so many other community outreach and they were doing measurement data. So anyway, that was my thinking, but
Anyone else's thoughts on that? Would people want to mark them up?
They've done well.
Fine, okay. And then additional corporate plan themes, 2 out of 2. Are we happy with that?
yeah.
Okay, so then they get 25, is that right? Right. Next one is Holston Village Hall. So, going down the scoring, so their community needs inclusion and consultation was 4 out of 6. Is there any changes there that you
No.
want? No. Community benefit 3 out of 6. Everyone happy with that? Action on climate emergency 5 out of 6.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were good on that.
Purpose of what they're doing.
Yeah. Financial sustainability 4 out of 6. Everyone happy with that?
Yeah.
Themed criteria.
Sorry, on the financial.
Yeah.
So in that case, they are match funding essentially. Like what they're saying is if they get the full amount, they would match it.
Yeah.
So that would fully fund it, which would imply a higher score.
Yeah, I'll go along with that.
Yeah, it is slightly
That's fine
surprising.
on that.
It's
Yeah. Can I
cool.
refer to officers with that?
So hold.
We did actually ask if that was the figure and they said that including any contingency.
Yeah.
So there's no reason to drop them down
No.
because they haven't got the full contingency.
Yeah,
It
good
was,
point.
It's because, so what we asked was, even if they're match funding, obviously we asked for contingency fundraising plans, because that way, obviously, if we were to
But
award
they don't
them.
need any contingency because it's in the figure.
So we asked for contingency fundraising, so as in what additional fundraising they'll do if we were to award a lower amount. So although they're match fund 7142, they're actually fundraising currently, if they were to do anything else. So basically they put on here about if there was a shortfall, they would do barbecue, trivia, quiz and race night. So obviously it's a venue gift if you wanted to increase that score.
Yeah, well, I would think so, given it's actually quite a modest amount, isn't it, in the grand scheme? And so
Yeah.
I would feel confident the way they spoke that they would be able to make up any shortfall. I think we should give them more points on financial.
Yeah, I think it should be more than that.
Okay, five,
Certainly a 5.
Yeah,
five,
At least a 5, yeah.
okay. And then themed criteria for chosen corporate plan priority, that was a 4. Everyone okay with that one?
I mean, this is an area that I find difficult to sort of get my head around because I don't know enough about corporate plan priorities, to be honest, to know what matters and what doesn't. But I'll sort of take your word for it that, because you know more about it than I do, that this is the sort of thing that matches our priorities.
And actually, one of the things, sorry, they said in when he was talking was about the people coming from Devon to come and hire the hall,
Yeah.
you know, so that partnership element, which I think they've not been knocked down a little bit on, and not putting that into their vacation.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what I identified in there is that they were addressing the climate concern. So their theme criteria is what climate scored them. And it seemed to me they did address the partnership working. And also they did talk about how they're going to publicise the benefits of solar energy. So
Do you think, Madeline, that they could do with a bit higher score?
Yeah.
Okay, what do we think? 5 there?
Five for
as
that one,
well.
that'd be good, yeah.
And then additional corporate plan themes, 1 out of 2. Okay, so then that takes that up to 23. Okay, so the next one is the Park Knowles Bus. So starting at the top, so the community need, inclusion and consultation is scored at 4 out of 6. How does everyone feel about that one?
Yeah, seems
Yeah.
fair.
Community benefit 6 out of 6. Assume everyone's okay with that. Action on climate emergency 5 out of 6. Financial sustainability was 1 out of 6.
Yeah, it's just a real problem area for them, isn't it?
Did they need their list? Were they one of the ones who were going to list? No. Okay.
Yeah, so they've
They're
still
on
got
screen.
a funding shortfall, but they haven't identified all the other funds and where they're going to come from. So in the policy, that's where they are at.
So how worried would you be about them, having done all the research and reading that you've done, as to whether or not they will get to that number?
So within our recommendations, I think we put that there was no concerns about delivering the project, but obviously in terms of the scoring criteria in our matrix, it's a 1.
Yeah,
It seemed to me that it was a fairly niche project in the sense that there might not be that many people from whom they could ask for money.
Yes, they spoke about another organisation where they're to get funds from. So I think they were similar to another organisation where they talked about that sort of who's the first funder. So again, if you felt like it deserved more within your kit to employ that.
Can I,
Go
when
ahead.
start dealing with this, do we use something called Funder Finder? Do we send them lists of organisations that might provide the sort of a funding? I mean, I've got within my inbox, there's 2 things. There's one come from ATSI Energy and there's one come from the rural, whatever it is, lists of, sources of funding. I mean, they're quite long lists. It takes some ploughing through to sign, this one's only for Scotland, so you can't use that. But there usually are several things within that might be applicable to our local organisations. It depends on them having people who are willing to sit in front of a computer, filling in endless forms to ask for grants. But do we try to help them in that way?
Yeah, so yeah, as often when we speak to organisations, not just around this grant, but
Other grants.
other
Yeah.
organisations, when they ask about funding, yeah. Other schemes that we know about, or direct them into other organisations who maybe have like funding portals or advertise other funding opportunities.
Good. No, I
So
think,
Sam, sorry, Sam, can I just clarify, did you say that you, from what you thought and what they shared, because they talked about Glory, PC, they talked about areas, that you felt it was within we could give them another.
So they've not applied for all the other funding, so in terms of our policy, it's one.
Right.
Yeah, I agree with that, because they haven't applied. They said they could apply. And they were looking for this to sort of give confidence to the other funders, but I still don't think they have applied, and they do have sufficient funds to put more money in.
Yeah, just come in, chat, please.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just a thought, just to add to the mix is, there's not enough money to fund everyone. If this one was funded, they've got 2 years to spend the money to do the project. But what if they don't get the other match funding? It might be money that we put aside for them, which we might prefer to give to a different organisation that might have more chance of being successful in that.
I think deliverability has to be a
so that's-
criteria,
that's
isn't
one
it?
of the things we sort of consider really, especially when I've got Simon Gewings in my ear going, Jane, what underspend have you got in that budget? You know, he's very pushy every year when we look at the grants budget, honestly, about trying to make sure that we're getting it out the door. Not allowing projects to drift on for years.
So actually, James, I'll ask a question. In that instance, so let's say we decide to give this organisation some money. We wouldn't just give it to them straight away. They have to pass a certain milestone before they can receive the funds?
The policy is that we give 75% of the funding out first of all.
How much? So 75%.
75% of the award to them, and then they get the other 25% when they're finished.
Right.
Some do come to stage payments. We do find it when we were doing 50-50
Yeah.
payments, but we
Yeah.
found people were asking, needing more cash flow to enable them to finish. But you could of course condition an award if you wanted to say we're not happy to actually release that money until we get, you know, more details of who will match funding, say for example in this instance. So we could safeguard the council's money to make sure that it's staying in our bank until we were happy, and officers can then do that process. It doesn't need to come back to planning.
But you're right, because I can remember seeing those reports where you've got sort of, it's almost like an aged debt report, isn't it?
Yes.
It's like, you know, who's for whom is this money earmarked, and when on earth are they going to take it from us? And
Yeah.
some of them go back quite a way.
They do indeed,
Yeah.
and we get quite a lot of pressure to try to resolve them.
Yeah.
So that's where this one particularly, I'd be a little bit uncomfortable.
Yeah, so should we keep that at one?
Mm.
Yeah. Okay, and 3 criteria for chosen corporate plan property, 3 out of 6. Everyone okay with that?
Yep.
Yeah. And then additional corporate plan theme, 1 out of 2. So that's 20 out of 32. Okay, so the next one is Walborough and Shillingford Parish Council. So the first one is community need, inclusion and consultation. And that's been scored at 5 out of 6. Is everyone okay with that?
Yeah.
Community benefits, 6 out of 6. Action on climate emergency, 2 out of 6.
We had a big discussion.
Yeah.
Didn't we?
I mean, he agreed they would put in heat pumps if that ticks some more boxes, but it did seem a little pointless to me. I thought his arguments were quite valid. I mean,
Yeah.
we deal with Johnny quite a lot because he used to be chair of parish council. He's now vice chair, although wasn't no. But I think what he said had a lot of, sensible base to it. So
I agree. I think it is a tricky one, isn't it? Because they've clearly thought about it. It's not that they haven't considered the
Yeah.
climate emergency consideration, but they've had to make choices and have been advised to make certain choices instead of others. So yeah, it seems it seems almost perverse to laugh them down because they've rejected the option that would increase their overall budget and not necessarily give them the best outcome. So,
Yeah,
Yeah, I had a
Tricky.
question on the sentence in the report about the energy audit does not appear to have been designed to maximise energy savings, but from what he said, that is exactly what it's designed to do, based on how that building is being used, and I guess will continue to be being used. So in the metrics of our metrics, maybe not, but in their metrics, it does make energy sense. And I think it seems perverse not to honour that. So, I mean, I've got a note here that I would be inclined to increase that score and possibly the next one down, but I don't know what others think.
I think when I was listening discussion, I think, like you said, I mean, our climate team do score this, so this is just my interpretation, but I think he did, you know, there were some concerns that were raised and he did address things like the sense, things like that. So I think this is an area where it definitely could be increased. If
Yeah,
it wants to be.
it seemed a bit harsh to add a certain.
Yeah.
Also, there's the opportunity here in the future potentially to put photovoltaic cells on the roof at some stage to to offset some of the cost of the electricity and using the type of electric heating that he was specifying. So I think there are ways to address it in the future.
okay, so do we want to mark that one up?
I've got a problem
so.
on the statements there. It says the project's replacing existing heaters, infrared heaters, which are no more efficient than standard electric heaters. That might be true in the long term, but he was saying we only lose them for a short term. So the infrared heaters are more efficient initially, but they're not in the long term, and that's not what it says in the report. Yeah. So I would mark it up because that's been marked down for that reason. So
Okay.
it's not correct in the circumstances. Yeah.
So if we mark that as 3,
Mm.
just as we
Certainly
go
at 3.
further on, can we start doing hands? Because I think we're all going to have probably more to say as we go further along. So yeah, just to manage things. So yeah, action on climate emergency will go to 3 then, and then financial stability. Any thoughts on that?
Leave that to you, Ken.
Yeah.
Or you
It did seem, yeah, they seemed to think that they were marked down quite harshly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So did we want to move that up to 3 as well?
Yeah, and this was the one where he said if we knew we were getting your figure, then it would be a lot easier to get the 100,000. I think it was from
That's right.
FCC. And having been through a few of these myself, I can understand what he was getting at. I liked his honesty in a way. I mean, he wasn't endearing himself to us particularly with the way that he spoke, but I actually think he was perhaps slightly more honest than most might have been in those circumstances. That his presentation did not tick as many boxes as perhaps others who might have been a bit cleverer or not quite so honest, might have got a few more ticks in the box, whereas he wanted to be as straight as he could with us.
Yeah.
And perhaps as a result didn't quite get above the 22 on the first follow through.
Yeah. Okay, Councillor Powell.
Yeah, so my only anxiety there is the precedent, and that if we're applying a policy, it's going to make it awfully hard for officers, I think, if we are deciding in this case
Yeah, true.
to change the grade. I mean, because there will be other examples. I mean, presumably you come across this quite regularly. This is sort of, if we get this money, then we can get that money, but if we don't get that money. So are we singling them out for better treatment than others?
Possibly good point. Councillor Cooper.
Well, does
Oh, sorry, Cheryl.
I was only going to say that we don't mind being the first funder. That's not the issue. We've always been quite happy to be the first funder, but we do encourage them and reward organisations for having, already approached other organisations for funding in order to show that, the community are going to benefit from the project. quite soon.
But they have applied for this,
Yeah.
as I understand it.
Yes,
100,000.
exactly.
So they, they've tried quite hard, and they've only got 2 out of 6. So I think putting them up 1 is not unreasonable.
I just wanted to say, I'm not too worried about going against the strategy, because one of the points I was making beginning was, we ought to review the strategy each year. And see, and because I feel that we ought to have some measure of deliverability with or without our funding. And I'm not sure, let's think about a bit more how you would actually measure that. But this, I've got every confidence that if they get the money, they will deliver this, because he's done the other 2 projects very efficiently. With others, it won't be as easy to measure.
Councillor Gordon Creed.
I would literally just say that in this case, because we know the deliverability of his capacity to deliver, if you like, from past projects, and the fact that he has already applied, I would have no hesitation in giving an extra point on this particular category in this. That's why we're here, and that's why they come, for us to hear individuals. So I'm fine with it.
Okay, so how does everyone feel about putting their points up to 3 out of 6? Does anybody not agree with that? No, okay, all right, great. And then themes, criteria for chosen corporate plan priority, 4 out of 6. Anyone not agree with that? Additional corporate plan theme, 1 out of 2. Again, any objections to that score? No. Okay, so total score there is 22. I think. Yep. Right. Okay, now we go to the Earth Trust. Starting at the first one, so community need, inclusion and consultation, 3 out of 6. Does anyone have any objections to that score? No. Community benefit, 2 out of 6.
That's the one that I thought was seemed a little low.
Yeah.
I mean, my wife and I often go to their events and benefit from walking through their amazing grounds. And it is somewhere that I think attracts interest from a wide geographic area, and I think its proximity to Didcot is a key thing. And with the new cycle route, obviously that would enhance that proximity, and this project helps that. So I think it's got quite a lot going for it.
Okay, Councillor Powell.
I'm just going to play devil's advocate because I love it. I love what they want to do because I would use it. But the point I think what Ross was looking at is this is cycle infrastructure. 60,000 people aren't going to suddenly cycle to the trust. So I think, in terms of relative community benefit, of course it's going to add value to the site and more people use it. But I thought 2 out of 6 was actually quite a fair score. People will still go to Earth Trust. I don't think this project is necessarily going to suddenly make it a 4 out of 6.
Yeah. Anyone else have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I kind of echo what Councillor Tolkien said. I think coming to Didcot as well, I think that will encourage more people from Didcot. I wouldn't necessarily go because it's always an awkward place to go by car, actually. Those narrow roads are kind of off-putting. Whereas if I knew there was this cycle track, I think I would be more likely.
It makes it a destination for a cycle.
Yes,
that's what I
it's
find
a big
attractive
place.
about
I think it will.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
Any other thoughts?
Well,
Councillor Cooper.
I think I would go from, the higher point, because they put 60,000 and you could read the rationale for where they got, but I think it's actually got a district-wide appeal, this place, at least, and in fact it's wider than the district even. The events they put on are fantastic, and I've taken my grandchildren from Brighton there, so it's a bit further afield.
Okay, any other comments on that one? And do people want to put it up to 3? Oh, sorry, go.
Sorry, my other portfolio area is obviously Didcot Club, Garland Town, and what we're doing in Didcot Club Town, particularly on Healthy Didcot project. Just reading the criteria, up to 4 points is where the project will have a significant impact on the health or well-being of one product priority group. I'm not saying it ticks that box very well, but certainly all the work we're doing with Didcot with new development, Northeast Didcot 2, giving people that opportunity to get out into the green countryside. For me, it's a huge benefit, and with the obesity we're seeing with Didcot mental health problems, I just think it's going to be fabulous and something we've needed for a long time. So it's a bit political now, don't I? About this one, so
Good, thank you.
it ticks all our boxes for Didcot Garland Town priorities.
So, do we want to put it up to 3?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, councillor Gordon?
No, I'm just putting my
Oh,
hand up.
okay, yeah, is everyone in favour of, adding an extra point to that? Okay, brilliant. Sorry, I thought you were wanting to speak.
Sorry, just to add, I think this is something where we're looking forward, not what exists at the moment and not what the demand is at the moment, because most of the people in Didcot, we didn't know that this path was being created until somebody told us this morning. But it's got, very worthwhile looking ahead. Credentials.
Okay, action on climate emergency, 5 out of 6. Any objections to that one? Financial stability, 4 out of 6.
I wondered why that
Why
wasn't
was it higher?
Yeah.
Because
It was a 6 originally, because of the money that they've got, we reduced it to a 4 in line with the policy.
then policy is a bit perverse in a way, because in terms of deliverability, this is 100% deliverable simply because we know that they're a well-funded organisation and have a lot of money in their bank account.
You didn't say that.
It's precisely because of that, it's been dropped down.
Yeah. What he said was that all the rest of the money was allocated elsewhere, and if they didn't get the full grant or any of the grant, then they would deliver a much
worse
reduced
version,
Yeah.
project.
Not such a good one.
So how do people?
I mean, I did think originally when I was looking at it that, given how it's a small project in the grand scheme of things for them, so I didn't have any concerns that it wouldn't be deliverable. I'm sure they could make up the shortfall if they tried hard enough.
With the extra point, where does that get them to 22? Yeah, but I mean, in terms
Did
of
you
our
want to change it
top
from a
tier.
4
Yeah.
then, or?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, this is the because of the size of the request. This is one that we could do it if we felt so inclined, and it would need to be rated at 22 to fall into that category. Am I right?
Yeah, it would obviously have an impact on other.
So it does have an impact then potentially
Yeah.
on others. Yes.
So what does everyone think? Do we want to mark them up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what, 5?
5.
Okay, and themed criteria for chosen corporate plan priority, that was marked at 4. Any objections to that one?
No.
And additional corporate plan themes, that was marked at 2. Any objections to that one? I think their score is 22 out of 32.
Sorry, Charlie. One and less than one. I've got 22, but I think that's
Community benefit was also marked up.
Yeah.
22, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, I would have put more than 3 out of 6 on that. I mean, I think 2 out of 6 was surprisingly low.
But it gets them into the 22.
Yeah, but
And thank you, Jane, for reminding us about Didcot Garden Town, which obviously is a key
Yeah.
strategic priority for us as a council.
Yeah. Each of those gone up to 3.
yeah,
Okay, so Goring Tennis Club is the next application.
Lesson.
So community needs, inclusion and consultation is marked at 4 out of 6. Is everyone, is any objections to that one?
no.
Community benefit was 5 out of 6. Any objections to that one?
Well, the main.
Why is it so high?
Yeah,
Why is it a 5?
Does everybody play tennis in Dorset?
I think it's because they were offering one court that was going to be for anybody turning up and without paying. Am I right?
Yeah, but does
I think-
that push it up to 5?
Can we do hands, please?
Sorry.
Yeah, I think it was because it was, they were offering it for free. But, yeah.
Well, even if it's free, there's still a limited number of people who are wanting to, able to play tennis. So
It's also, I believe, because they were, I think, introducing a new activity as well, I
the
believe.
pickleball.
The pickleball as well, so I think that was something additional, bit more, I think there's more detail, yeah.
So, Madam, you might know this, or you might know about our sports strategy. We had recently had that. Was pickleball picked out? Was something that was identified? Or can I remember things like pickleball and paddle? I do remember in that strategy paper there were some new emerging sports that had been identified as needing.
Yes,
Resort-
absolutely, there is.
locations.
But whether Goring was an area that was identified, I don't know without going and looking.
Could be
Can
so
you
wide.
explain the difference between paddle and pickleball?
Sorry, Madeline, put you on the spot
Very
there.
different.
I'm afraid I don't know.
Okay, so are we thinking that that's too much, or are we happy with that score?
Seems slightly high. I'm happy with it, but not that bothered. Not going to dive into it.
Okay, all right, well, let's leave that as it is if everyone's happy. Action on climate emergency, so they scored 0 out of 6 on that.
I agree with
It's harsh, but their project doesn't really give any,
Please,
sorry.
can you raise your hand? That's the topping.
Right. My point was that the nature of their project actually makes it quite difficult to demonstrate any action on the climate emergency, to be honest. So they've got a harsh score because their project really doesn't offer it. However, they decided to do it. I can't see how they could do it in a way that really could enhance very much
Yeah.
the climate in any way.
Councillor Gordon Creed.
You might have noticed I was trying to steer them somewhat, but I think they heard that there were possibilities that they hadn't considered in terms of where they go and what products they choose, because has anyone been to Ardley? All of the Ardley stuff now can be used as tarmac, and so I think we might have. They were certainly agreeable to researching the sustainability of how they chose and what they chose. It seemed to me they just hadn't thought about it, I think.
Councillor Arlett.
Yeah, I would just bring your attention to the last two sentences, actually, which I think they could do both of those. They did say that we're going to use someone in the Chilterns. Well, that could be somewhere local. And as you just said about the surface, there must be different surfaces than tarmac. There has to be. So I think they could have done both of those, or they may well do both of those. So to that one, I think they're worth better than a law.
Councillor Brotherton.
That's why I was going to say I agree with Councillor Topping.
Okay, great. Councillor Powell, did you have your hand up?
Well, I was going to be churlish and say they didn't even have any cycle parking included. I mean, there were barriers. They weren't even for parking for bikes, but no.
Okay. Councillor Cooper, did you have your hand up?
I didn't, but I would say they've obviously made no effort to do anything about that. I mean, I think they could have done, but they didn't. So
Yeah, well, obviously the fact that it's only a couple of minutes walk from the station and that lots of people walk, but that wasn't included in their application. Okay, so what do
leave things as they are.
would people be happy to leave it as 0? Yeah. Okay, financial sustainability was 6 out of 6. Any objections to that?
No.
Theme criteria for chosen corporate plan priority was 3 out of 6. Any objections to that one? No. And then additional corporate plan themes was 0 out of 2. Any objections to that one? No. So that stays the same. Is that right? Yeah. Right, okay, next application is the Forge. So starting with the first one, community need, inclusion and consultations. 6 out of 6. Any objections to that one? Community benefit, 5 out of 6. Any objections to that? Action on climate emergency, only got 1 out of 6. Okay, councillor Gordon Green.
Well, I was going to say, we're probably going to say the same thing. So I think that needs to go quite a lot higher, because they did then bring a lot of information to the table in terms of how they are going to insulate, they're going to have air source. You know, they gave us a lot of information that wasn't in the report. And they've obviously thought about it a lot. So I imagine you guys went away and did something with that, but I would certainly have scored that a lot higher now.
Yeah. Okay, councillor Tomping.
Me too, basically. They also had solar panels on the roof. I just found that this was the one that I really couldn't understand, the 1 out of 6. I would have thought this should be more like 4 out of 6. It's always difficult when you've got an old building, which is what they're working with. You're never going to get perfection. And I just thought they'd done everything that I could possibly imagine somebody doing to transform an old building. And, you know, I shouldn't say this, but it's my personal favourite, because I think this is a village that could be transformed from going from having no community space to suddenly having one, albeit the village is small. This could make such a difference to them. And it struck me that they were doing everything they possibly could to make it green as possible.
Yeah, I think a lot of the information wasn't in the application,
right.
so obviously that's what today's about.
Yeah.
The major thing. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the major thing. That's why it's a 1 down here, because it wasn't in the information. It wasn't
Yeah.
presented. They could have presented it a lot better and got a better score. They didn't, and it came out in the presentations now, and that's probably why we need to put it up. But you can't put it up too far, because that we don't guarantee the information. It's only verbal. We haven't got it written down.
Councillor Cooper.
Just to provide a little bit of background information, Binfield Heath is quite a new parish. I remember it being started, it was the late 1990s. So that's why they haven't got a lot of stuff, because they were part of an adjacent parish. They set up on their own, and they've obviously got some very wealthy people living by. I mean, my basically they can afford this anyway. But it's such a nice project, you know.
Lovely
Yeah.
project.
As
Yeah.
said, I don't think they ought to be artificially marked down just because they can afford them. But it's one of those. I would like to give these people some money because it's such a good project. But if we haven't got enough for everybody, I think they could well manage with maybe a bit less.
Yeah.
But you know, enough to make it that we were looking to support it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
They're not going to.
they don't actually need it too much.
No.
Okay, was there anyone else who wanted to speak on it? Okay, thoughts in terms of how much I think we're agreed that we want to put it up. How much are we thinking?
Great.
So 2
2 extra points.
extra points. Okay, is everyone agreed with that?
Do officers feel comfortable with that? You hear enough today that would deserve another 2 points?
Yes, some of the things that they spoke about today that probably relate to climate was bicycle sheds, heat pumps, EV chargers, insulation, planting, solar.
I think that's how many more boxes could they take?
Yeah.
It might be. I just don't include enough. I would put them up to 4. I would give them an extra 3 points. It still doesn't get them to the automatic level.
Yeah, so I'll just give you the details from the
Oh, it
actual
was 4 us, yeah.
scoring criteria. So to score 3 or a 4, medium scale projects evidencing good community involvement and a commitment to partnership working. I think they evidence that. Facilities that encourage culture, leisure and art to promote social wellbeing. Certainly tick that box, didn't they? And the overall action on climate change is investment in building energy efficiency using more than one technology, e.g. LED lighting or installation, etc. And that's a 3 to 4 sort of point score. To get up to 5 or 6, talking about large scale habitat creation restoration projects as an example. So, feels 3 to 4 is
Yeah,
around the right scale.
Yeah.
The other point I just add as well is obviously they're in the very early stages of their project. You know, the scale of projects like this, sometimes you do have to, you know, cut something out and put something else in. As prices go up, you might say, well, actually, we can't afford to do that now. So obviously, you know, we can't guarantee that they will end up using those technologies, but they're given the flavour that that's what they want to do. I think that's what's really important. And they see the value in saving money, don't you?
yeah. And so are we comfortable with 3?
I think that's all we can put up to.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Great, financials, sustainability, 4. Any objections to that one? No. 3, criteria for closing corporate plan priority 2, 5 to 6. Any objections to that one?
I had a,
Go ahead.
sorry, you go ahead.
No, no, we're probably going to say something.
You go.
Well, I think from what we've just been saying about the fact that this will bring a facility into a community that has nothing. I think the score there should justify an extra point. The evidence that was given to us today.
Okay, is everyone else in agreement with that?
Yeah.
Gives them an extra
Yeah.
point?
Mm.
Yeah, okay. 3 out of 6. And then additional corporate plan themes, 0 out of 2. Any objection to that one?
To give a bit more information, they selected as one additional theme was climate action, and they scored 0 as the additional theme.
But now they
Oh,
should.
okay, so obviously they've given
Yeah.
some better.
Yeah.
They only selected 1 out of 2 possible.
1 out of 2 on that one.
So arguably they should get another point for that.
Yeah.
It would be logical, given that we put them up. Yeah.
5, that'd be 20.
What's that, that's 20,
Take that up to 1 to
Two.
Yeah.
point then.
yeah.
It gives a 5. We've got 2.
Is
Take
4, sorry.
Take
4 extra, so there'd be at
22
22,
as well.
I think.
Oh, I forgot, oh no, yeah, you're right, sorry, so 2. Was it 22?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so next one is Abingdon Rugby Club. Okay, so first one, community needs, inclusion and consultation. That scores 5 out of 6. Any objections to that one? Community benefit 3 out of 6. Any objections? Action on climate emergency 5 out of 6. Any objections to that one?
No.
Financial sustainability 1 out of 6.
They, from the evidence he gave us, their funding gap seemed to have shrunk quite
Yes.
considerably. So maybe that deserves another point or so.
It has shrunk. It wouldn't change their score in terms of policy. But yeah, you are correct. It's gone from sort of evidence given.
Well, I think they were
quite
saying that
considerably.
project costs had gone down.
So the project costs have reduced.
To
They've
400
received
or-
some funding, hadn't received some funding,
Yeah,
and then the sort of left over.
but they're obviously
There's a lot
actively
less.
seeking funding, aren't they? So
Yes.
that was another point in their favour.
So how does everyone?
I propose an
One
extra
more.
point.
Well, definitely give them the one that one.
Yeah.
Mm.
An extra point there, okay. And then theme criteria for chosen corporate plan priority, scored 3 out of 6. Any objections to that one?
No.
Additional corporate plan themes, 1 out of 2. Any objections to that one? And just one, so yeah, so that takes it up to 19 out of 32. Are the panel satisfied that there are enough beneficiaries in our district in South that the project would benefit enough
I think the
residents?
answer is yes, and there's potential for an awful lot more coming once Fulham's built on.
Yeah, okay, great. Okay, so I've got that as 19. Okay, Whitchurch preschool. So if we start with community needs, inclusion and consultation, that's scored 4 out of 6. Councillor Bredesen.
Yeah, that's right. The first line of that said the project will significantly improve a community facility. It's not a community facility.
Only.
It's only available to the preschool and it's not a community facility. So I think that's too high.
Anyone else have the same thoughts on that?
Well, it was the question I raised, yes. I mean, it is disappointing that this is only available to the preschool children in the hours, presumably, that the preschool is operating.
Yeah.
And she did give a valid reason for that. But
It's a valid reason, very valid reason, but it's not a community facility. So that 4 out of 6 is too high.
But isn't that why community benefit was dropped to only 2 out of 6? Because it wasn't a.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're going to drop that one, then you're going to drop the other one.
Does everyone else feel the same as that, to mark that one down?
It has to be.
I'm
That's the
torn there because by definition, those kids are part of the community, and this is the only facility within the community that they have to go to. There isn't, it's like they have another option.
But it's not a community facility.
Well,
It's only a facility for the preschool. It's a preschool. facility.
Councillor Arlett.
Yeah, I think if I remember correctly, what they did say it was going to be used between 10 and about 30 children in the community. So I agree with David.
Yeah,
I thought I read that it was 100 children.
that's what it said, but then.
Well,
Yeah, well, that's
Sorry.
But we asked the question and it wasn't that high.
That's what they
It
put on
was
the
up
report,
to
but when
40
we asked the
preschool.
question,
Okay.
she said 30 maximum.
Okay, but I think that's 30 a day. So
Yeah.
if you've got,
He said
somewhat-
40 in the whole scheme.
yeah. I don't know,
Oh, that's what she put.
I had 40 plus the infant class, the
Yeah.
reception class.
but that will be a day. There would that a lot of preschool children don't, they might go in the morning,
Yeah,
the
Quite,
afternoon.
but there are 40 actual children involved. Some of them will be there sometimes and some at others.
Okay, and we've also got to consider, obviously, this will benefit, although it will only be however many children it is, 40 this year, it will also be then 40 next year and 40 the following year. So it's not, it does have a,
Move on, yeah.
yeah,
Cumulative.
a cumulative, thank you. So yeah,
But it's still very restricted. It's
Sorry,
not
Claire,
a
you could use
community.
that argument for everything. You could use that argument for the rugby club,
Mm.
there'll be different people each year, so that argument, sorry, does
Councillor
not
McDonald.
stand.
May I ask why they got 4 out of 6? What was the thinking behind it?
So for that score, they obviously it's a community facility, similar to other organisations where it might only be members that use that, similar to maybe like a sports club. So that's why it's scored into that range.
Yeah. Over the years and years of this scheme running, we have often funded this type of asset. Bonesfield is one that immediately springs to my mind, but I know we pushed back to them to say, can you open the facilities like in the school holidays or something like that? And they really tried, but actually ended up, it wasn't possible for insurance purposes and all sorts of it not being staffed, it's been used in international like that. So we have got a little bit of a precedent in the scheme over many years that where we have funded preschools that are only open like in this situation.
okay, Councillor Cooper.
Well, a couple of points. One, it's very difficult with schools, as just been said. But the other point is we aren't supposed to fund things that the county council should fund, which you could argue that OCC should pay for half of this because it's half a class full of reception children.
You could argue that.
You could, I mean, you won't get it, but I still agree that it is not a community facility. It's for the paying customers who go to the preschool.
Okay, can I have a vote then on, do we want to mark it down to 3 out of 6? What's, raise your hands.
I would mark it down at 2. but-
I'd go for, if you post 2, I'll second 2.
Okay, can I have a vote on 2?
2.
I was going to compromise on
Okay,
three.
against 2,
I think I'm against only because it
Okay.
seems a bit harsh at two.
Yeah.
okay,
Can I propose a compromise of the one in between?
Yeah.
okay, yeah. Do we have a seconder for,
The 3. Yeah.
okay, all, are people for 3? Vote, put your hands up.
3, yeah.
Yeah, 4 for 3.
And,
Against.
no change? 2,
Outvoted.
okay, all right, well, let's put it down to 3 then.
It's semantics.
I totally agree with you.
Okay, going on to the next one then, community
problem,
benefits, that's been scored at 2 out of 6, is that, do people agree with that one, or any objections to that one? No. Action on climate emergency, 4 out of 6, any objections to that one?
Why was it? Why was it as high as that?
So it's scored by our climate team, so it'll be the climate credentials on what they've put on there, but essentially some of the recycled properties, wood and pieces of equipment.
Oh, sustainably sourced timber.
Choice of suppliers. We've got that wheel on.
Okay, any objections to that score?
No.
Financial sustainability, 6 out of 6, any objections to that one? Deemed criteria for chosen corporate plan priority, 2 out of 6. Any objections to that one? Yep, so that takes us to, oh, did I say additional corporate theme? But additional corporate themes was 0 out of 2. Any objections to that one? So that takes us to 17. Or 16. Okay, the next one, towers the playing fields. Community need, inclusion and consultation, that's scored 2 out of 6. Any objections to that one? No. Community benefits, any comments, objections to that one? No. Action on climate emergency, any objections or comments? Councillor Gordon Creed.
I thought, based on what they shared with us, that going up 1 point there might be relevant in terms of what they were planning to do with regards to action with water.
They're building a car park.
Yeah.
Well, no, it was the water storage element.
But that's for a future project.
No, that'll have to go in when they do the car park. And that will then make the future more sustainable because they won't having to be used mains water to water or run toilets. And they hadn't put that in. They hadn't factored that in. They were just talking drainage, but now we're talking storage.
That's correct.
Yeah.
If they do that, then they should have the point. How do we know whether they're going to do it?
Because they are doing it.
No, so it was something new today. So yes, so
It's not in
the water retention was something new presented today.
Yeah.
It's not included in the costs that's presented to us today. At all.
So it's part of a different project, presumably then. Councillor Powell.
Well, yeah, and I acknowledge that they did plan to do that, but I didn't think that was enough to add an extra point, given that what the specific ask here is to knock down a building and build a car park. It just doesn't feel to me, as compared to many of our other applications, it seems to be working overly hard on that particular point. So 3 I'm comfortable with, but I wouldn't put it up there anymore.
Any other thoughts on that? Is that everyone comfortable with 3 or?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Madeline, do you want to say something? You had to.
oh, sorry.
Not that I can remember.
Okay, financial sustainability is 6 out of 6. There any objections or theme criteria for chosen corporate plan priority was scored at 4 out of 6. Any objections to that one?
No.
No. Additional corporate plan theme was 0 out of 2. Any objections to that one?
No.
Oh, Councillor Gordon Creed.
So they selected climate as their additional theme and given 0. 1
By the climate team.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm sort of not surprised.
No.
Because basically, at least the first phase, which is what we're talking about, is a bigger car park. But quite tricky to make a lot of climate benefits out of that.
Yeah. Okay, so that overall score stays the same, 18 out of 32. Right. Okay, Watfordington Sports Club, replacement of windows and doors. So starting with the community need, inclusion and consultation. That was scored at 4 out of 6. Is there any objections to that one?
No.
No. Community benefit 3 out of 6. Any objections to that one? Councillor Powell?
I thought when he was presenting and we were asking him, he gave examples of many more other organisations that would make use of this facility. So I thought he made the case for an extra point on that one.
Okay, does everyone else agree with that one? Councillor Cooper?
I think so, probably because the photos of the hall there is a much bigger. I mean, yes, you can rent out the town hall, but it's quite a small space. Less than half the size of this room, whereas that looked like a decent sized hall if you wanted an event of that sort of size. So I think it has got scope for wider use.
Yeah, he also said that there was going to be lots of new housing, so there might be more users of it as a result.
Okay, so would people be happy with maybe to up that to 4 out of 6? Yeah, do we have agreement there? Yeah. No objections. Okay, action on climate. Oh, sorry, which one was that? That was community benefit. Yeah, action on climate emergency, 4 out of 6. Any objections to that one? Financial stability was 1 out of 6. Any objections to that one? He did make some comments on that.
Yeah.
Councillor Topping.
I thought it was a bit harsh at 1 out of 6, particularly because they seem to have made a lot of effort in small ways to raise more money themselves, which I always admire when people do that. So I thought 1 out of 6 was a bit tough, and that maybe that should go to 2 or possibly even 3.
Okay, Councillor Powell.
Yeah, I'd agree there with Councillor Topping. I think he gave some very specific concrete examples of things that they have already planned to do. So it's quite a small funding shortfall, and he gave me the confidence to believe that they would make up that gap.
Okay, Councillor Gordon.
I had the same. I had a +2 on that, based on the very specifics of fundraising that they were being getting detailed. So
And how do officers feel about? Do they have any?
I mean, it's obviously up to you how you decide to award it. I think, we scored it in line with the matrix, but yes, it's only £3,000 that's based on if they were to get the full award. And that's the one thing you need to consider, is that actually if they weren't to get the full award, what would that gap be? Would it be much bigger than 3,000? But obviously it did come across confident. So yeah, it's completely up to you.
Okay, what are we thinking, 1 or 2 points? 2. Is everyone comfortable with 2? Yeah.
So 2 in total.
Yeah.
Oh,
Is that 2 out of
That
6?
two extra.
That makes 3 out.
You want 3?
Yeah, is that 2 extra? Yeah.
2 extra there.
Sorry, I wasn't clear. Themed criteria for chosen corporate plan priorities, 3 out of 6. Any objections there? And additional corporate plan 3, theme 1 out of 2. Any objections there? Next. Okay, so that's 18 out of 32.
Oh, I've got 19.
19.
Oh,
Yeah,
oh,
'cause there was an
sorry.
extra one earlier.
Oh, yes, there was.
Sorry, yeah, you're absolutely right.
Category.
Okay, the next application is the Kenton Theatre Management Society Limited. Okay, if we start with the community needs, inclusion and consultation. That's currently scored at 3 out of 6. Any objections to that, councillor Arlen?
Yeah, I'm going to make a few objections. I think what's happened here, I think the application probably wasn't great, where the presentation was almost brilliant. And I think I think you almost got two versions here, the application version and the presentation version. And I think a lot of these scores are really low. Like the first one, you know, there's so many organisations use this facility that it's open, you know, literally every day of the year or is near. And you look at the first one and, you know, you could say 6, but you could definitely say 5 because of the amount of usage of the building.
Okay, any other thoughts on whether that community need, inclusion and consultation should be moved up?
I would support putting it up at least 1.
I can't remember what they said about consultation with the community.
So that was the reason that they didn't score 4. They didn't provide any evidence of consultation with
No.
existing users. And they provided an electrical report to show that their previous electrical system was deemed unsafe, but they didn't provide any consultation with car users.
Yeah, councillor Powell.
Yeah, I mean, that's what struck me. I mean, clearly it's a really important resource for the district, for Henley and the surrounding area. And clearly they're going to make significant improvements by replacing the lights. So from a sort of climate and energy efficiency point of view. But I agree, I think it was very much internally driven. It was them deciding what they wanted. And I think in the next category, I think for, you know, yeah, it's well used. But if you went out and asked the community, is that would the community have scored it as highly as they had scored it for themselves, if you like? So it was that lack of evidence of external input.
Yeah,
That was what I'm thinking.
Okay. So do councillor Branson.
I would agree to put it up. I think the issue here is that stage lighting is not something that you go to your visitors with, because it's not something you'd really be aware of. There's not been, you know, been an issue. So that's why there's no evidence of consultation, because it's not an issue that they recognise. Yeah.
I agree with that.
Theatre
Not
lighting,
sexy
yes,
thing.
or other things, but not stage lighting. So it's very difficult to have that consultation with people that don't recognise it's an issue. So I would agree to put it up to 4. I think there's issues later on, but that's the difference.
That's valid. Do people agree to
Yeah.
put it up by 1 to 4? Yeah,
Yeah.
everyone in agreement with that? Yeah, great. Okay, community benefits. Any objections to the 4 out of 6 score?
Okay.
Well, you know, I think the numbers tell the story. You know, 30,000 local residents using the theatre. You know, it has to surely has to be worth another 1. You could almost say 6 with that amount of people. But I think, you know, if you send another 1 for that.
Remember for Henley.
Well,
We've only got 10,000 people in the town.
Councillor Cooper.
yeah, I mean, I'd be happier to, you know, agree at a point extra on there than I would for the previous category.
Yes.
Because I'm very conscious that when we built Cornerstone, it was going to be a facility for the
Don't
whole
take me there.
district. And, you know, we agreed that, but to be perfectly honest, getting from Henley to Cornerstone is not easy, and it's certainly not doable without a car in the evening, because you'd never be able to get home again. And so it does cover a very wide area. So the community there is big. it's all of the southeastern part of our district. So yes, I would put that up, even though I didn't vote for the one above, but everybody else wanted it. So,
Okay, so, proposal to move that up to 5, is that agreed?
Yep.
Yeah, everyone okay with that?
Staying.
Action on climate emergency, that had a score of 5 out of 6. Any objections to that one? Financial sustainability, they scored 1 out of 6. Any objections to that one?
Yeah, I think
That's
that, I think that one's way low. And I'd go as far as 4 at least. Where they've said before, which obviously didn't appear here, where they've already raised £89,000 for, as you said, the first phase or the first and second phase, where they raised all that money without any support from SODC, and now they're coming here for, which I think with the previous one, with the fella Johnny, you kind of want the money up front somewhere so someone else can follow that. Whereas, or we looking for the other where we want to see the money there first and then we're coming at the end. So look, they've done a fantastic job down there from where it was 3 years ago, and I just think they need some good support from SODC. Whatever you want to raise it to, I think it's going to be a benefit for the Kenton Theatre and the wider district.
Councillor Gordon Creed.
I would support that, based on the fact that if we don't, we're penalising an organisation that has a history of moving from being considerably in the red to an organisation that is now not in the red, and therefore the underpinning from the community and the fundraising committee now is obviously very dedicated and proving their worth. They have a track record that's proven. And I also, with regards to their ongoing outreach, I think that will only increase. So for me, I'd be very comfortable giving them a higher score in this category.
Councillor Powell.
So I think that we should be consistent in treating this the same as we have treated others before, and I would come comfortable putting up by a couple of points. I think in this instance, for this organisation, receiving a grant from SODC will leverage a lot of other funding. And I think they are well set up to do that leveraging. So I think that it will get some value for money by giving them an award, because I think they will be able to use that to generate other income. But I think we should be very consistent with how we treat this one and not overmark it compared to how we've done others.
Yeah, go ahead.
My thoughts entirely about the consistency and how it looks to outsiders that might not know this organisation, perhaps didn't hear the presentation today. When you look at it on paper, they haven't said that they're putting any money towards this particular project on the application form, but that's why it's scored so low. So I think absolutely, obviously fine for you to put those scores up, as long as we make sure we minute the justification around why you're putting that forward. And obviously we could be open to challenge by other organisations if they feel that they should have got the same, especially when you get to the next stage and you're allocating the money against the points. That's when it is going to become quite difficult. And I do know in the past we have received official complaints about the panel's decision making, and we've had to really work hard in justifying going back to people on the evidence of why the scores were changed and subsequently the awards were changed. So yeah, it's just that clarity really have been absolutely clear why we're doing it. So that was
so for the record then, I think on that one of the things that we challenged them on and they responded on was their audience development strategy. So I think they, with the new theatre manager there, I think that's what gives me some confidence that an award will enable them to leverage other funding streams. That would be my rationale, but again, wanting to be consistent with other.
The requested amount is. Is that 70, yeah, it's 75,000, so it is one of the higher
Bigger one, yeah.
requested
Yeah.
amounts, and we've got multiple that are asking for that amount as well, so yeah, we'll get into that discussion afterwards. Yeah, very difficult, very difficult. But I do love the games.
Any other thoughts or comments on that? Councillor MacDonald.
Just again, asking the officers what they think the score should be given the extra evidence from the presentation. Sorry to put you on the spot. I thought it was scored in line with the policy and what they'd provided. So originally their application included the phase one that was discussed, but because the work had already started, they couldn't include that, so they had to take it out, and that's why. Their finances don't look as good when they submitted the original application. It was for a bigger project and they had got a bit of money. But due to the way of the policy itself, they couldn't include that first two stages. We have to remove that from that total project cost. I don't know if that helps or not.
So is there nothing that you heard today that made you think that we could?
For their funding, from a funding point of view, they haven't changed. I mean, they still haven't applied for any other grants, which is what they have to do to move up the point. But obviously, it's in the panels given to award more points to people. And that's doing that.
Okay, so do people feel comfortable keeping it the same? Instead of 1 out of 6, or can we maybe have a vote that would do? Okay, let's vote on, would people like to see the score increased? Raise your hand. That's a majority.
Can I propose that we just put it up by 1, because I feel that these go in 2, these things,
Yeah.
so that it doesn't look too out of line with other, but well, consistency point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a planned application.
Yeah, it is,
Each
yeah.
plan on its own merit.
It's very sick.
Okay, so do people feel
I'll go with
comfortable
Sue's suggestion.
with
Yeah.
1
An extra
going
one.
going
An
up
extra
1?
1.
Going
Yeah.
up one,
Yeah. Okay, that's 2 out of 6. Okay, and then the next score was themed criteria for chosen corporate plan priority. That scored 2 out of 6. Any objections to that one? No.
I didn't think that one was particularly unanimous.
I think they're all over. That's my opinion.
Additional corporate plan theme was 1 out of 2. Any objections to that one? No. Okay, so we've got an extra 3 points there by my calculation. So that's 19 out of 32.
And then
Okay, the Woodland Centre Trust.
they didn't come, did they?
They didn't come. Has anyone got any questions for officers actually on this one? Obviously, they weren't here to present.
I wondered about the low score for community, just based on what it is and how many kids use it.
And so this one is based out of district, so it's within the 3-mile radius, but it's based in Walborough. And they provided a figure that the number of residents using their services from South Literature was 4.2%. So it was 160 residents. So that was reasonable.
Okay.
Quite small.
It's a sewage treatment plant.
I'm generally supportive of people putting in their own sewage treatment plants with the other alternative provider, not being the world's most wonderful company. And the more we can have of it, the better. But it's very difficult, I think, to make a case for altering any of these if the people don't turn up to justify anything.
Okay, all right, well, let's just go through it then if no one's got any other questions. Community need, inclusion and consultation. Any objections to the 2 out of 6 score? No. Any objections to community benefit score? 3 out of 6. Any objections to the action on climate emergency, which is scored at 5 out of 6? No. Financial sustainability, 1 out of 6. Themed criteria for chosen corporate plan priority, 2 out of 6. And additional corporate plan theme, which was 1 out of 2. No objections to that one. Okay, so that stays at 14 out of 32. And the next one is the Chinna Village Centre. The Community Kitchen Improvement Project. So starting with community need, inclusion and consultation, that was scored at 3 out of 6. Does anybody have any objections to that one? No. Community benefit. Any objections or comments on that one? Action on climate emergency, 3 out of 6. No.
Yeah.
Financial sustainability, 2 out of 6. And themed criteria for chosen corporate plan priority was 2 out of 6. And additional corporate plan theme, 0 out of 2. Oh, which
Just
one?
one comment, just going back to the financial, 2 out of 6.
Yeah.
Struck me as quite low, given that we were potentially putting in 4,500. I think something like that. No, we were asking for 5,500, weren't they? Roughly half the money. So they were short by 4,500, but it struck me that they had an awful lot in their bank account potentially just to fund that. So the chances of there being a shortfall would be quite low. And it struck me that 2 out of 6 seemed a bit pessimistic, but maybe Sam or Grace could comment on that.
Yeah, so, okay. I think they'd applied for all of their other funding. They haven't secured. So to get up to 3, they would have to secured more than 50% of the advance of the project. So they haven't done.
And having it in the bank doesn't count towards
Because they
that.
haven't allocated, because they say
Right,
how much
we
they're
may
going
be
to put
allocated
towards
to,
the project.
yeah,
So if
really
they haven't said
expensive.
that, then we can't really take them.
Yeah, whatever. Okay.
Okay.
Can I just ask the question on that, please? Is this a timing thing as well? Because I'm not sure, but I think they plan to, or maybe they have applied for councillor grants from both Ed and I and Georgina, and those haven't been awarded. Does that count? I mean, is that
I'm not sure. When I checked
right?
last week, they hadn't the applications for
Okay.
generation.
And the councillor grant scheme has opened after the closing date for this one,
Yeah,
so they
yeah,
need
so
to have that
it's
information.
like-
Right.
It also informed part of their funding plan, so they didn't include that in their funding plan, and this is a phase 2, and they are still raising money for phase 1 kitchen projects, so it could be they're applying for phase 1
Okay.
elsewhere, so
Right.
yeah, for this phase, they were given funding themselves £975, and then they still had an outstanding balance of 4,907, which was all being applied somewhere else. But there was also no contingency funding if they were awarded less for us, so they couldn't score any higher in terms of our policy.
Okay, any other comments? Okay, so I think we've got 2 themed criteria for chosen corporate plan priority, 2 out of 6. And then additional corporate plan theme is 0 out of 2. Any objections to that one? No, so their overall score is 13 out of 32. And then we come to our final one, which is MP Sports Development Plus, the laser levelling of cricket ground facilities. We start at the beginning, community need, inclusion and consultation. Any objections to the 3 out of 6 score there? No. Community benefit, 3 out of 6 score there? No. Action on climate emergency, 1 out of 6. Any objections or thoughts on that one? No. Financial sustainability is scored at 2 out of 6. Any objections to that one? And themed criteria for chosen corporate plan priority, 2 out of 6. Any thoughts on that one? No. And then additional corporate plan theme, 1 out of 2. Any thoughts or objections to that one? No. Okay, so that keeps the score there at 12 out of 32. I suggest we have a 15-minute break now before we come back and look at the scores as a whole, and then we can go from there. So if we come back here at quarter past 3. Hi everyone, welcome back. So we have gone through the scoring and now Cheryl will show us what that means for the funding. So Cheryl, would you like to share your screen and then also take us through what we where we've got to?
Yeah, certainly. So prior to the scoring, where you reviewed all the different schools, we've had 2 organisations which were scoring as high priority. And as a result of the information that you've heard. Sorry.
I have got it.
You okay?
Yeah.
Okay, right, you carry on.
As a result of the increase, we now see that we've got 6 high scoring priority organisations. The 3 that were low remain low. So you can see the policy allows us to give 100% of the request to high scoring organisations, and the low scoring organisations unfortunately don't receive any funds. The medium scoring organisations have a share of whatever's left in the budget. During the revenue grant panel meeting, so you suggested whether or not there could be a distinction between those who score higher towards the medium high, if you like, and medium low. So that's how we presented this time. So you'll see that there are a few that are medium high and a few that are medium low. And then what I've done is based it on, with the money that is left, the medium lows get 60% of what the medium highs get. So you can change that variant to 50% of what the medium highs get, but because of the amount of money that is now being awarded to the high scoring organisations, means that there's very little left for the medium organisations. So yeah, so for, just move this across. For the high pot, we've actually got £296,595 would now be going to high scoring organisations, and the remainder of that 320 to the mediums. So it's left very little the medium scoring organisations.
Councillor Topping.
A suggestion, could we scale back the highs from 100% to 80%, which would then release a lot more money to spread around the mediums?
The policy is that we score a high scoring 100% of their requests budget committing.
Yeah,
Well, you could argue it doesn't permit it because there's so little left over.
I think what you might want to do for us is review the other conditions around if there's any organisation that you're not happy with or that you think could fully fund a project, or there's the extra criteria that it's got the power to the committee to pull out any that you really might not feel comfortable with their management skills, or so they've got the ability to fully fund already. So are you basically happy with everything on there? Do you want to fund all of those projects that have let me put it the other way. Do you agree not to fund below, and that leaves you what's left? Are you comfortable that you want to fund all of the rest on the screen? Based on, or have you got any issues with any in particular? Before you really start to get into the nitty-gritty about the actual money. So within the constitution, there are certain elements that allow you to say, no, we don't, we believe that organisation has got, so much in its endowment policy, millions and millions or something, or that you've got concerns about an organisation and its ability to manage a big project. That then there is that ability to use. I haven't heard any of those queries come out throughout the debate so far, so I'm assuming you're happy. The reason that the high policy is in there about the 100% of what they've asked for is to really, really enable those projects to go forward. So what we're really trying to do is we're saying those top green ones really contribute to our objectives. They've got the highest community benefit for the local area. So really they're the ones we'd like to concentrate on and actually make, come to fruition as quickly as possible. So, but the scoring criteria should enable that to have made sure that those top ones come forward. And then to debate the other ones, whether you want to fund all of the mediums at their amount, or are there any that you might want to think about, not funding for whatever reason, because we're in a really, really difficult position. Yeah. And if you give some people such a low amount, then it's not really worth it. It's the amount of resources we need to put into making these awards. And then I don't know, Carol, did you want to talk about the ones that are under the 10?
6,000.
There isn't any now that fall under that. There's only the because Holton have already received. Yeah, they were the only one anyway. So yeah, you can see in column S that I've highlighted a couple in yellow that have quite a lot of funds to raise. Now, Abingdon Rugby Club did intimate that they'd now actually got only £1,200 to raise. So that figure was obviously different to that, whether it's all secured or whether it's just that's what they feel that they will be able to raise. I think it was probably more accurate rather than that it's actually secured. And Kenton, as we know, they've still got quite a lot to raise there, 154,000.
And was it the Binfield Heath one? They actually said they've started work and they've got enough money and they can complete the project in the next 12 months. When we're up against this kind of challenge, yeah, that's the option you've got in front of you, which is tough, I know.
Yeah, Councillor Gordon Creed.
Thank you. Can I ask a question based on what you just said, which is, for example, the Forge project, which we loved, but that one, from the sounds of things, if we didn't give them the full amount, that project would go to fruition because they have the money. And are we allowed to reduce that allocation based on our policy and then put that back into the pot? So if we took 25,000 out of that and put it, are we allowed to do that?
If you can justify the rationale, I'm just trying to find the actual paragraph in the Constitution.
There's serious concerns about the appropriateness of the project or its financial viability. Or you believe the applicant has sufficient unrestricted reserves to fund the project themselves. That's the one.
Yeah. How do people feel about that?
I agree.
I would
Strong
support
support for that.
Yeah.
I want to support them because it's such a good project,
Yeah,
but I don't feel their need is greater than
That's
others.
fine.
Yeah.
But I say, give them something to show that we do support.
So how do we go about doing that then? Do we amend their scores or?
I would probably have to because I can't custom the high award. I can only customise like the finance table is set up. I can only customise the medium ones, not the high ones. So we could change the score. I could note what it actually was. So it's the Forge we're talking about, isn't it?
Yes.
So let me just do this. Comment. So this was 22.
Is everyone in agreement to do that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any objections to do this?
Page 63.
I'd have to just change the score to bring it down and then customise the award. Yeah. So I just need to change it. Say 21.
So, Sherry, you only have to take 1 point away.
Yes, that's what I was just looking at, double checking on there. If I just take it down to 21. And then how much would you want to custom it to? They were asking for 75,000.
Much do we need in the other?
much as possible.
Does anybody have a feel for how much we need to put in to
Well,
make it, because we approve of it, but don't feel
Well,
a great need.
But it may be that this isn't the only one. Are there any others where we
Could be
could have a
large
similar approach? Because they will raise the money, or they have got the money. I mean,
Or
the
they've got the
Berrin
wherewithal to
Centre
get it.
might be worth a look, because they're again asking for 75. And whether or not the same approach could be made there. Possibly.
Potentially the Earth Trust as well, because they've got.
But then there's not a lot of saving with them, because their
True.
profit
We're not gonna
number is
gain
small,
much.
isn't it?
True.
But perhaps the Berrin Centre. And
Walker.
they,
What, Cheryl, what do you say? on that?
So in relation to the Berrin Centre, if you have to think about which is it you're using in order to make that decision. So if you feel they've got enough reserves themselves to fund it, whereas actually what would we have a look on here? It still says they've got 91,000 to rest. It doesn't what's in their bank, it's 400 and something thousand, I think. But a lot of that was tied up with the
Cafe.
cafe.
Yeah.
So you might think, well, actually it's tied up with the cafe. Have they got enough money to fund it themselves? And if they haven't, then you can't use that particular criteria to not to, to reduce the amount.
But that is the sort of project that actually they could do part of it. It seemed to me there was huge support for doing the ramps. So they could certainly get on and do the ramps. And maybe, I can't remember what the other bits of it were, but some of them might be able to wait until they've had the chance to raise a bit more money.
I don't think the policy would allow us to start breaking
Well,
up a project.
Under that, I mean, you read out two categories. One was the ability to manage something or other, was it?
Serious concerns about the management of the project.
Yeah, well,
None there.
You could say that.
no, except that they're busy managing. Maybe wait till they finish the cafe before they start on this.
But you've got to deal with the application in like.
Yes,
We've got
just
here.
saying that fully support this project, but it's more to do with timing than actual project. Give them time, A, to raise some more money from other sources, wherever, and B, to finish off the cafe and get that going, and then start on this thing.
That's difficult with that one, because
Yeah.
they only scored 1 out of 6 for financial stability anyway.
Yeah.
So if you're looking at community benefit with that one, where they scored 6 out of 6, if you drop their community benefits, then you drop them out of the top criteria, wouldn't
I don't think we changed the scores on community benefit, did we?
you?
No.
No, we
So
didn't. No.
that's how it was scored.
We didn't change any scores on that one, but that's,
No.
if you're looking to drop them out of the
But it has to be
automatic
based on the
75,000,
evidence,
you'd have to
really.
drop that one.
Yeah, we have to have a rationale. Councillor Powell.
Yeah, so a couple of points. First of all, I think, is there an element of where is the need the greatest in these? And it'd be hard to argue that, Berensfield is less deserving than
Anywhere else.
Yeah.
Wheatley or anyway, so given the demographics of our district, it would, Berensfield, in my view, it's more deserving of support than these sorts of projects and has a strong community benefit. So I'd be reluctant to move to reduce that award. One thing we discussed, but the other point I was going to make is when we met back in February on the revenue grants, we also had the discussion about whether it's better to give bigger amounts to fewer organisations rather than trying to spread the pot so thinly that it almost doesn't make a difference. I mean, at the moment, on this level, so we're talking about, a very small award to, was it the preschool or something like that. So do we look at the medium low categories and say, actually, the numbers involved aren't that significant, and therefore almost treat them the same as a low?
Yeah.
I think the trouble with that is that I think it's of value to organisations for us to give them a grant, even if it's a small one, just to show support. So it's a moral thing rather than a financial one.
Yeah, sorry.
Mm.
Look, another suggestion, because if we're looking at removing some of the fund from the top level and percolate it down, could we cap the award at the top level? I know it says in the policy, the full award will be amounting, but it says budget permitting. So could we then cap it? So quite a number of those are 75,000.
Yes, Walborough, it would
Could,
be
could
another
we
one.
just drop that to arbitrary 60? And then that would push a lot more money into the medium. Is that possible?
What do you want to do with the highs?
So cap the amount at like 60,000.
Well,
So-
some of them aren't even, so that would only impact on the Berrin Centre and Walborough.
Yeah.
So would they say, well, that's not really very fair if you cap,
Well, the,
cap us, but you let the other three highs?
We take it down by 10% across all
Percentage
all
would
of
be
the high
fairer.
perhaps.
Yeah.
it's very difficult to apply a percentage, but to apply a cap is easy. That's the way it is. You know,
What would we do?
it's only a
then?
suggestion, and of course, can we do that?
What
If we
would
can't, then we have to go forward with what we've got, which is reward them all and then work with what you left. And I think it's fair from, I think it was Sue said, to drop the medium lows out and just fund the medium highs.
Well,
That's
David,
Gordon
excuse me,
Cruise.
what would we do? Because we were discussing the Ford, which is a medium high, which would be 75.
That, it was originally a high.
You won't be funding
We only
75.
dropped it down so
Okay.
that we could see if we could give
Oh,
it an
okay.
amount of money, so I
Okay.
can put that back up. And
Yeah.
we can see what that's, because its actual score is 22. I've
Yeah.
only changed it to that just so that you could change the amount that you wanted to fund it.
But we haven't decided how much to fund it.
No.
Councillor McDonald.
I know it's really hard and you only have a certain amount of money, but I find it quite difficult now to be tinkering around with this when we have very set criteria at the beginning. And I'm sorry, I think we should stick to it. I know it's really hard, but I think we should. That's just my view.
Valid point.
Yeah, well, the strict criteria have got policies
I know, but
behind
we're
them. that-
tinkering.
Yes,
Any other comment or
I'm still in favour of taking some off the forge. Put into the next bracket, but
I think that's valid,
Yeah.
but going
The
any
rest of
further
them.
than that, I think I feel uncomfortable with.
what we putting a cap on or
Yes, yeah.
because
We had set criteria, I think we should stick to it. It's hard, I know it's really
Mm.
hard, and I don't like it. But I think we're doing too much tinkering.
yeah, I mean, taking away your
what about
8,000 is nothing these days, isn't it? Unfortunately.
what about councillor Powell's suggestion of removing the medium low and then giving those that are medium
Concentrating
high,
on medium highs.
bit
I
more.
like that idea.
I don't.
That would reduce the forge to get to that point.
Do you want Cheryl to put that on the screen, that
Let's have a look at that.
So what would you like to happen with the forge first of all? Do you want it back as a high?
Keep it where it is.
I think the
I don't
forge,
see any gain.
Take it down one.
No, I would.
Well,
You just
with-
thought a couple of grand.
At the moment, they're getting 27%, but is that how much you would want to move it down to? Or do you
That's
think
right.
that, because they are actually a high,
20,000.
so you might want to decide that. I think they need to get more than the 27.63% because they are actually a high.
Mm.
But if you want to put more money back into the pot, how much do you think you should give them of the £75,000 on the basis that you feel they can afford it themselves?
And I was thinking give them 50 and take away.
Shall I
from
see what
that.
happens when I put
Yeah.
that in?
Yeah,
Wants me to do it, okay, yes. So giving them 50 then means that medium high gets 17, just over 17%
Of what they've
of
requested.
what they've requested. And medium lows only get 10%, so you can now try taking out the medium lows.
yeah.
Okay,
See what
let's have a look at
happens.
that. Yeah.
see you don't.
So that now means then that medium highs get nearly 22% of their request.
That's okay. That's okay. That's a, that's, I think that,
Nearly a
That's a
quarter.
better result.
But that's just gone down from 20 odd to 16. Medium highs have gone down there.
Medium highs have gone down, yeah.
Yeah, medium highs have gone down as well.
How was that? Oh, because we're giving 50,000 to the
That's
forward.
because of the
Yeah.
forge, the
Yeah.
original forge.
Do you want to see what happens if we take that out?
Well, take a bit more off. I mean, how much?
give that 40.
Yeah, what can you do? Just a 40?
40.
presumably?
Yeah, but these medium highs before up to.
So it's 26% now
the
for medium
before
highs.
20.
Well, that's better because that's over a quarter.
But basically, we would only be making one tinker, Denise, and then concentrating on the medium highs, which I think is quite a good outcome.
So one.
I think what you want to give, you want to make it substantial, I mean, enough to make a difference rather than
Yes.
pennies, which is
Yeah.
what you're going to finish up with if you try to split it all. So I think
Yeah.
that's a reasonable compromise.
Councillor Gordon Creed.
Just looking at the distribution figures now, my one question, I guess, in terms of if an outsider was looking at this, if some of the medium, by doing this, we've knocked out all the lows, but some of the medium highs are getting a very large amount. And so I just wondered about the fairness of that, that's all.
Councillor Cooper.
At what stage do we put in our proposal, like we did for the revenue grants, to say if there are underspends in the capital budget this year, which will end soon, well, not now, well, nearly half a year, but can we agree some top-ups of some sort? So it would be a similar procedure to what we had last year, because we have to wait for the end of the financial year, then we have to make the accounts be done. But I would point out in the last scrutiny committee, when we reviewed the outturn from last year, everybody was quite happy with the revenue budget and spending because it was more or less fully on point. But there were a lot of criticisms for not getting through the capital budget quickly enough. So, you know, to address that, these organisations presumably will be in a fit state to spend their money quicker than we are, ours. Could we ask for some more? No harm in asking.
Can we have some more, please?
Can we have some more, please?
Do you want to comment on that?
Yeah. Obviously, absolutely fine for you to put forward that proposal. The difficulty will be is if you imagine all of these projects in, you know, probably July, August next year, we'd have to go back to them all and see where they were with all of their projects. And you've seen today how things have changed since they put their application in to where they are today with their funding or their project costs changing.
Yeah.
So it will be quite a difficult process for us to because we would need to go to that council meeting whenever, if an underspend was identified, we would need to be able to say, you know, how much is that figure? So you remember on the revenue grants, it was easier because there was 2 years of funding allocated very much in advance. And so we were able to come up with a very fixed figure of this amount was the request. With this process, obviously we're changing figures all the time. It would mean we would need to have to go back to each organisation, say, where are you? It might be that they might need to fill out some more forms or something. It's not as a simple process, I don't think, unless you want to identify, you know, an award now, and perhaps if there is any money, what a future award might look like, or a figure that you might want to come up with that we could take forward.
Impossible.
But it's not a simple process, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
The Councillor Cooper.
I agree, it's not a simple process, but it's not impossible. And I think if the local members for the projects involved could be involved with those projects and explain that we haven't got enough money to give them this now. But we as councillors have asked, but if there's going to be any more in, you know, sometime next summer, we might know. As I say, it really does depend on the type of project, whether it can be delivered in bits or whether it can just be put on hold, or whether we've missed the boat altogether if, you know, if they don't get the full amount. So it'll be different in different cases, depending on the project. But, you know, it requires people to talk to each other to get the best deal for what they want. And I think it's better for these organisations. I mean, if you're going to have renew your playground, for example, I mean, I don't think that will be affected in that case. But, you know, when you actually do it, if you have to wait another few months before you actually do the work, is it going to make that much difference to the organisation concerned? Or, you know, if you're improving the energy efficiency of your building, yes, you'd like to do it as soon as possible. But if you have to wait a few months, so be it. It's better to be able to do it in the end than not.
Okay, Councillor Bunsen, did you want to say?
I was
something?
thinking of what Sue just said, and I'm tending to agree with Jane. It's an almost impossible thing to go back and administer unless you actually ask them to apply again. We found some more money. Do you want to update us on your project, and do you want to apply again? But then that's adding an awful lot to it. Like, I don't see how you administer it, added on to what's here. I can't see how you can do that. I think the better way is if the budget, there's money left over the budget, ask them to put it into next year's grant. Oh, it's this year's money, but add it into next year's grants, and so you've got it next year to allocate. That's probably the easiest way
And then
to
apply
administer.
again.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. I sympathise with what you're saying, but it's almost difficult to administer, isn't it? It's almost impossible because you can't go back to 4 months later and say, "Oh, we found some more money. Do you still want it?" Which is what you're doing, isn't it? You know, yeah. And to administer that is almost impossible. Yeah, even to tell them beforehand, you might have some more, you might not. You know, no, I don't think it's possible. No.
Councillor Arlett.
Yeah, can you just tell me what you're trying to gain or not gain here? I took a photograph of the original one. So you've given more money to the forge, and by doing that, you've reduced the money on the other.
No, you have less money to the forward.
Yeah.
The
Well,
forge, the
well,
forge was
if you've done that, the original one, the original medium highs was 20,721. There's a couple here, and they've been reduced to 19,642. So they
Shouldn't have gone down.
well, they have. Oh, there's 20.
Shouldn't have gone down, should it?
Cheryl's got an answer. for that.
Yeah, go Cheryl.
What's happened is because the forge was actually a high, the only way that I can change this scoring formula for the mediums was to drop it down a point so that it was a medium. So that's why probably on your screenshot, the forge was perhaps originally showing you as 20 something thousand that they were being awarded, but actually
That's right.
they should have been awarded 75. It's only because I've dropped the point, the assessed score down from 22 to 21 in order that I can give a customised award to the forge, because with it being a high, the scoring formula won't allow me to
the
do it.
percentage
But
figures
they
change, yeah.
They
But
are
the amount
actually
does.
a high scoring organisation, so should actually be receiving the £75,000 they requested, but because you're concerned as a panel that you feel that they can actually afford the project themselves, that's why you've suggested the 40,000 custom award.
Yeah, I think Ken's getting concerned. It's the percentage that you're looking at.
Oh no, if you've got
But the amount should be bigger.
okay, so you're. Oh, I can see what you're saying. So you've dropped the score yourself from 22 to 21.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, just so that I could change the column to give them a custom award. If I left it as 22, it would be high,
So
and
you
I
put it
wouldn't
high, you
be,
couldn't
the
change it.
scoring formula wouldn't allow me to change it to give them
So
40,000.
sorry, Gemma, but why aren't we going to drop another 2 then into that category? Why have we just done 1?
That's
Because
what
they
that's
We're
what-
said
trying to find.
We
Yeah,
were trying to
there
find.
has to be specific criteria, but yeah, go ahead.
But because they, in their presentation, said they've got sufficient funds to do the project
Yeah.
without our money. They've also started the project, and our policy allows us to make a decision where an organisation has said, oh, sorry, believes, the panel believes that the applicant has got sufficient unrestricted reserves to fund the project themselves. That enables the panel to make that decision to say, right, you've got enough money, we are not going to fund you from our grant pot, or we will give you a reduced figure. So it gives you complete justification. But I believe that is the only project that was in that situation.
Well,
So
it's-
that's
sorry,
what's
Chair,
made it difficult.
Under here, it's got project balance to raise after award. The top one's got 91 grand and the next three have got nothing. So the next three,
That's because of the funding that they've already secured. So if they get given all the money
and you
that
said
they've
the forge,
got,
you said the forge was the same though.
No, we don't.
in their bank balance.
Yeah.
So, but with the top five, they have only got with those three that are showing zero, they've only got the zero because they've actually secured all the other funding. It's not because they can afford the project themselves, it's because we've given them the amount they've requested. When you add that to the secured funding, it means that they've then got enough to do the project.
And you're,
So-
sorry, through chair again, so you're saying the forge is different?
Or just different because of the presentation where they said that they could actually afford to do the project.
I think they said they had a very generous grant or gift
Donation.
from a
Donor,
particular
yeah.
individual who's given them a large amount of money.
And revenue.
Yeah,
The revenue
The
generated.
money was sat in the bank.
Yeah.
That's what they said, yeah. We could say no for them.
and I think it does make the project slightly different, which is why I think we could justify reducing that. And when I started talking about another one, the Berrin Centre, I think very good points were made that Berrinsfield is an area of particular need, where it would be wrong to do that.
Councillor Gordon Creed.
So this is possibly going to be also controversial and might be too much tinkering, but I do think that the Warborough project would fall under the same criteria, or could it, is a question.
As the forge.
As the forge, sorry, yeah, as the forge.
And the justification there would be what, that they haven't yet raised full amount that they need. I know we had a lot of debate about that earlier.
It was live, yes.
Yeah, so with regards to Warborough and Shillingford, the only thing we could potentially use the in the policy that we have serious concerns about the appropriateness of the project or its financial viability. Because obviously there's still quite a lot to raise. However, in the scoring, we did raise them from 2 out of 6. So that we probably think that's a contradiction. So yeah, I'm not sure we'd have justified to do that.
No, I think from a purely practical point of view, I think Warborough could probably manage with 10,000 less, but not a huge chunk.
Yeah.
But that's not,
As you say, that's agreeing.
Yeah, the only other one is a trust, which has got quite a substantial bank balance.
but then
Again,
the amounts are small.
The amounts are small, it's
And
not
that's
worth it.
more about publicity value than
Yeah.
actual money.
The way that this looks now, the spreadsheet is kind of explainable, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah, you can justify what.
You justify it.
Yeah.
No, that's okay. Sorry, what was the question?
No,
It's a comment.
so just a comment. It's gone now, the spreadsheet, but just to look
We
at
can
the spreadsheet.
justify what's on
Those
that
adjustments that
spreadsheet.
were made just now with the, the special treatment for the forge plus removing the medium lows, there's a logic to that.
Yeah.
And the numbers while they're going to be disappointing, a lot of people, everybody knew that the scheme was hugely oversubscribed. It's no secret that there wasn't enough money to go around. And I still feel, as we discussed last time, that in a way, you know, it's almost better to award sort of full amounts to a number of projects that you then can be confident will happen. We can point to them and say these were delivered. You know, rather than trying to, if we give too little, you know, that might have an impact on more projects that would then not become deliverable. I mean, I think the way that these numbers have worked out, we work through, you can look at them and think, okay, it's not necessarily the message that everybody would want to hear, but I could justify those awards.
Yeah. Any other comments?
No, I just agree with Andrea. It's not an easy decision, and lots of difficulties. I'd rather give them more money, less than them. But you've got to come to some. You've got to come to an end. You've got to come to a decision, and I think we've probably arrived there and got at the right decision. I think, yeah. The only thing some of the bottom ones are very small. Is it worth dropping the little ones off and not giving them anything and just reaching? That's the only other thing I'd say. I can't see it, but there's one of those at 3,000. Is that worth giving at all?
They can apply for other grants.
Yeah, but
So
they've only applied for.
if you think about what that's for, that Watlington Sports Club one, I think they could do something with 3,000.
Okay,
They
as long as
do
they're
some
happy
of the
with that,
windows,
then
yeah.
The other option is to reduce the Forge further or not fund it at all.
We could put it to 25,000, then it's,
But I mean, unless the only thing I would suggest there, if you're going to do any more tinkering, is to drop it to 50%. Change the percentage there and see what that, so it's not a round number, but that might bump up some of the others a bit. Whether Cheryl, what happens
I
if
don't know, I
amount
could
of
just
money
change the
to support it.
percentage because that's in a formula.
that's in a
that it
formula,
works out.
yeah.
I could get
But
it
it
as
would
close
be
to.
it would make not much difference.
No.
So
Yeah, that's 75. So give
That's
them
why
38 or
it's
something.
3 and
It's
30%
only
is
almost
different. Yeah.
38.
it's
38,
like rounded
with
up,
37.50,
rounded up.
38 is 50.
Oh, no,
50% just about.
50.
Okay.
Mm.
yeah, doesn't make a huge amount of difference.
No,
But even just doing that, I think that looks better. Presentationally.
It ups the. I can't really. Ups to what is the sports club, which is the lowest one. That ups theirs to what?
3,500. But they've got Watlington local members. They might be able to get.
Yeah, they can do something with
so
it. They can do something with it.
It's not such a big gap.
Yeah,
It's a
let's
small
go
one.
with that.
Okay, is everyone comfortable to where we've got to?
Comfortable is a probably.
I think we're never going to be thrilled by the
No.
result because we haven't got enough money to get thrilled about it. But I think we've done a reasonable job because I was really worried about how we would do this. And
Yeah.
in fact, we seem to have come to something that is broadly logical with only tinkering Denise with one figure particularly, and then just taking out the medium lows. And I think that has some logic.
Councillor Powell.
Can I just say also, yes, not the right answer for everybody, but that's 5 fully funded projects.
Yeah.
So it's still a good message. You know,
Yeah.
it's still saying to people it's
Absolutely.
worth applying for these schemes. Well done for putting all the hard work and everything.
Yeah. Councillor Cooper.
And I would still like to propose that we ask for underspends elsewhere to be fired into the capital budgets, whether it, I mean, I'd like it to be done later this year, but if it's easier to add it to next year's, then so be it.
Okay, Councillor McDonald.
Yeah, I am conflicted on this. It's really, really hard. I do appreciate what you said, Councillor Powell, about funding certain projects so that you're more confident that they can be delivered. But there are 3 organisations who thought they were going to get something today and they're not. So I just want us to think about that too.
Yeah.
And I know it's just because we haven't got enough money.
No,
Yeah.
you're bound to disappoint some people. Don't happen. Well, they all knew it was limited anyway, so anyone who's got some money will be quite happy. Should be.
Yeah. Okay, so can I have a vote that we're all...
Just one more question.
Oh, yeah, sorry, go.
could you just show me the figure where you got proposed wards amount? Could you just show me the figure at the bottom that is 320?
Sorry. And what?
Where you've got
It's not there.
proposed award amount, sorry, proposed award amount. That does come to 320.
There you are, on the right hand side. Right hand side.
High pot is now 221,595. Customizer award of 38, and then the remaining medium get the 6405.
It's a funny way of
That's amazing.
organising the spreadsheets. Yes, because you're working backwards
We're
from
trusting
that.
formulas, then, aren't
Yeah.
we?
Yeah, you're working backwards from that figure, aren't you?
Okay. Yes, yeah, so first, if we agree with, if we agree on this, are we all in agreement?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, great. And yes, if we can take councillor Cooper's proposal for any surplus capital expenditure to be put into next year's capital grant. Do I read that
I
correctly?
think that's more practical than put it into this year's. But if it can be put in that, but not to replace it, but in addition to any other grant that's allocated.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, okay, so we've got a proposal, is that your proposal?
Yes.
And can we have
I'll
a second there?
I'll second that.
Great, councillor
So-
McDonald. Great, is there any other business that we need to cover?
Do you want to vote on that?
Just need to vote.
Oh, sorry, can we agree on that, can we have a vote on that,
Yeah.
please? Great, that's carried, thank you.
Yeah. One question, are these figures and everything now confidential?
We will let organisations know as soon as possible.
So they're subject to cabinet agreement, aren't they?
It's subject to ICMD approval from
Yeah.
Georgina Heritage.
Yeah, and
But we will-
this is a recorded meeting.
Yes.
It's live streamed.
Yeah, yeah, well, it should be, yeah. Okay, great. All right, well, thank you to all the applicants for applying and everyone who came to speak today. And I therefore declare this meeting closed at 3:57.
Thank you, Kate, for your.
Yeah.